public portion of the August 9th, 2023 Richfield Park Board of Education meeting. The time is now 7:31. Let's begin with the salute to the flag.
The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Richfield Park Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, place, therefore posted in the Bergen Record, Star Ledger, Municipal Building, Board of Education offices, and district website. I'll now read the public participation instructions. Public participation will be conducted both in person and virtually through Zoom. All public will be muted throughout the meeting. Public participation comments are limited to 5 minutes. The public will be able to both speak and be seen by the board when participating virtually or telephonically via Zoom. Individuals participating virtually that wish to make comments during the public participation will need to raise their hand by clicking the blue hand icon at the bottom of the Zoom window. Individuals participating by phone that wish to make comments during the public participation will need to hit star nine on their telephone to raise their hand. Business administrator, board secretary will then unmute individuals one at a time and then speak in order their hand was raised.
Thank you. Can I please have a roll call?
Yes. Ms. Cathcart. Absent. Mr. Cooney. Here. Ms. Kraft.
Here.
Mr. Feitros. Absent. Mr. Gomes.
Yes.
Ms. McNeil. Absent. Mr. Rodriguez.
Miss Rodriguez.
Oh,
Here.
sorry, Ms. Rodriguez. You have a typo here. Got it. Ms. Velez.
Here.
Ms. Orth. President Martinez.
Here. We have quorum. We have no minutes to approve, and we have not received correspondence from the public since the last meeting. So we will move on to committee reports. I'll start with negotiations on behalf of Trustee McNeil. We have no updates in that area. Buildings and Grounds, Trustee Cooney.
Thank you, President Martinez. Buildings and Grounds Committee met on Monday, 5:04 start. Present were Dr. V, Superintendent of Schools, Interim BA, Mr. Bissick, myself, President Martinez, Vice President Orth. Communication with building leaders, building principals have submitted a list of needs in regards to facilities to Dr. V. All depending items have been checked and a walkthrough will take place. The BA and the Director of Facilities and Grounds will view all of the items so that they can be completed. That's for all the projects internally, and anything that's outside of the school grounds will be discussed with the DPW and town administration. In terms of the ROD grants, not much more than we already knew. There are 6 ROD grants and they have all been submitted. We are still waiting on the DOE approval. Solutions Architecture submitted those 6 ROD grants to the state. That would be 198 Center Street, Grant Elementary School replacing asbestos flooring, HVAC mechanical upgrades in the gym of the high school, replacing asbestos flooring in the science wing, HVAC upgrades in the auditorium, cafeteria, and gym, and additional ROD grant for roofing. We are uncertain as to when the deadline, when they will approve it. That's still up in the air. As soon as we find that out, we will make that available. Lincoln School heater unit installation, the Airedales installation is on schedule and should be completed by the opening day of school. The high school commercial kitchen and science rooms project, and regarding the kitchen, the food labs framing and sheetrock has been completed. Electric gas drop ceilings are installed. Flooring installation is taking place currently, and there's been one change order, changing stainless steel tabletops. The small tel companies, those tabletops are going to be changed in the change order, and that's requested by the high school administration, which makes sense because we do have a new state-of-the-art commercial kitchen. Regarding the science room, change order number 003, supplemental steel for the RTU 1 units. That's, for the layman's terms, is just more steel support for the roofing. Framing and sheetrock has been completed. Electric gas drop ceiling are also installed. And once again, we're waiting on flooring. That's taking place this week. It will be done before school opens. New lighting for elementary gyms was discussed. That will be viewed and looked at as the walkthrough takes place with the BA and the Director of Buildings and Grounds, if that's something that we need to do. And an update on solutions architecture projects. The architecture is conducting meetings with the subcontractor, the plumber, regarding pending change orders that may be required within the science and foods rooms dealing with the grease traps. Additional items, conversation was discussed about the last demographic study that was taking place in the district. And Mr. Bissick is going to get some clarity on our building capacity in order to plan for the future. And lastly, we're happy to report that according to Solutions, all of the current work will be completed prior to the opening day of school. And I want to say a quick thank you to Mr. Bissick for being able to take the barrage of questions we had for him after only 1 week of work in the district. That sums it up. Next meeting is September 18th, and our meeting was adjourned at 5:39 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cooney. Policy, Trustee Rodriguez.
Thank you. The Policy Committee met on August 1st, 2023, started at 7 p.m. Members in attendance was Superintendent Dr. V, President Martinez, Trustee Carol Velez, myself, and Trustee Michelle Orth. We discussed possibly the classification of groups and possibly classifying them by percentage. Dr. Vespiani will do some fact finding and provide the board recommendation regarding use of facility, District Regulation 7510-75 and District Policy 7510 and regulation. Dr. V informed the committee that the policy regarding the policies that will be on tonight's agenda for second reading and adoption.
Thank you, Trustee Rodriguez. Faculty and programs, Trustee Kraft.
Good evening. The Faculty and Programs Committee met on August 1st at 6 p.m. Present were Dr. Vespiani, Board President Dr. Martinez, myself, and Trustee Rodriguez. We reviewed the F&P proposed agenda items for tonight's meeting, and we followed up on previous agenda items, including the preschool update, which I believe Dr. V will be filling us in on in his report, an update on all of the fields for fall sports. We discussed the hiring and evaluation of coaches, and we discussed the before and after care program that I believe Dr. V will also be addressing in his superintendent's report. One other thing that we followed up on was the LEGO initiative. Dr. V met with our elementary principals and the consultant from LEGO. All supplies and kits are currently in-house. They do provide professional development, and we're hoping to have that in place for November for our teachers. That's it. That's the completion of my report.
Thank you. That was very nice. Finance and Insurance, Trustee Gomes.
Thank you. Before I start, I'd like to welcome Mr. Bissig. Thank you very much for filling this important role. It's a welcome relief knowing that there is someone in this role. And I'd also like to thank Dom, who's leaving us, for handling the payroll. Finance Committee met on August 7th, this past Monday. Present were Dr. Vespiani, Mr. Bissig, myself, Dr. Martinez, and Vice President Ort. Although he was new to the job, I did ask for some overview of the conditions of our finances and our records. So some of the things we discussed was payment of bills, our current busing situation, and the before and after care. With respect to our records, Mr. Bissig said that He's still getting a full handle of it. There were some issues with respect to some of the vendors and payments. That has since been resolved. It was just a matter of funds that had not been transferred to the appropriate accounts. He has put notes in the files and, it's not expected any such thing will happen again in the future. This was only limited to some of the vendors and not all staff and vendors. We did discuss the busing program. I'm not going to get into detail with the discussion because Dr. Martinez will be providing a detailed report on busing. But I also went on and asked Dr. Bisick to look into a busing feasibility study, which is something that the board had requested under the previous BA. So that's something he will be looking into. Mr. Bisick also placed on the agenda resolutions for non-public funds, which is something that hadn't been done recently. Basically, these are funds that are being used to pay for students in RP who are attending non-public schools. Finally, we discussed the contract with respect to the before and after care. The revised version should be with the attorney right now and will be going to the vendor. It's hoped that by the next board meeting this month, we will have its executed contract and that service will be in place. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Gomes. Also very nice. I'd like to provide an update to the Richfield Park community on our shared service. As part of the finance report, I'd like to provide an update to the Richfield Park community on our shared services relationship with Little Ferry going forward. First, Little Ferry High School age students will continue to be welcomed into Richfield Park High School and be treated and educated as our own. The only change going forward is that Little Ferry has exercised their right to secure busing services from another vendor. All else should remain the same as it has been since, I believe, the mid-60s. Last year, Richfield Park underwent an extensive audit of our busing program and thereafter found and corrected deficiencies in the area of compliance, safety, training, and timekeeping. After that restructuring, the business office took a deep dive into our busing program's cost and revenue. In March, Little Ferry was presented with a bill for the true cost of the services provided. Although that number was profit neutral, that number was indeed higher than Little Ferry had enjoyed paying for many years, and according to them, higher than they had budgeted. I want to be clear that this is not Little Ferry's fault that Richfield Park was operating its busing program at a loss for many years. This was our fault and likewise our responsibility to now operate the program in a fiscally responsible manner. This program has never made the profit promised when it was sold to the people of Richfield Park, and worse, it has been operating at a loss. Since March, at the behest of the state monitor, both districts made a good faith effort to reconcile on a number or a level of service that was equitable to both districts. 2 weeks ago, Little Ferry secured a bid from South Bergen Jointure, and Richfield Park matched that number with the level of service we could provide for that price. Last week, we were informed by Mr. Parapato, the new superintendent in Little Ferry, that they had accepted the South Bergen Jointure bid and would not be needing our busing services going forward. Again, there are no hard feelings on this side of the river, and the rest of the relationship remains intact. In fact, with this sore spot out of the way and no pending litigation between the districts, I'm hopeful that the relationship will actually improve. On the home front, Little Ferry's departure from busing frees up much of our program now to allow us to recoup some of the $300,000 we pay outside bus companies to bus our own students out of the district. In addition, our administration has already started and has informed us that they have been approached by neighboring districts and the South Bergen Jointure itself to pick up other routes, further allowing us to recoup the lost Little Ferry revenue and perhaps then some. Finally, as Trustee Gomes stated, in the fall, we will be undergoing a comprehensive busing audit aimed at making sure that we have corrected all the deficiencies of the past, that our buses continue to be safe, and to begin planning for the future of our aging fleet. Thank you very much. Personnel, Trustee Kraft.
The Personnel Committee met on August 1st at 5 p.m. Present were Dr. Vespignani, Trustee Kraft, Trustee Orth, and President Martinez. Discussion regarding various open positions in the district were held. Dr. Vespignani confirmed that he has begun to institute a number of best hiring practices in the district to ensure an effective and consistent protocol. These changes have been well received by district administrators. Also was discussed the need to update the website to make our employment page and open positions more prominent. Dr. V advised that he has been reviewing the past practice for processing requests for leaves of absences with the goal of ensuring compliance with federal and state laws.
Trustee Rodriguez, you wanted to give an update on the Homeschool Connection Committee, subcommittee.
Thank you. So the Homeschool Connection Subcommittee met on July 25th, 2023 at 11:17 a.m. Committee members in attendance was Dr. V, Trustee Carol Velez, myself, Dr. Mercedes Haynes, Principal Natasha Hernandez from Grand School. So we talked about we discussed the history of the Homeschool Connection Subcommittee. According to District Policy 241550, 5152, the school district will incorporate the school parent and family engagement policy into its district plan. Our goal is to have 3 family nights, 1 focusing on literacy, and that the tentative date will be Thursday, November 2nd, 2023. We're going to have another family night, math, possibly focusing on math, possibly during the winter, date to be determined, and then science in the spring, date to be determined. On back to school night, we're going to promote family night, provide parents with the QR codes where they can access the district website. Trustee Velez will promote at the RP library. Our next meeting is going to be August 15th at 11:30. And we're also our goal is to promote the ending library and then also looking into one book, one school.
Thank you.
Dr. Martinez, I just want to add that Trustee Cooney was also at the Personnel Committee meeting.
Our feelings here. At the request of the state monitor, we are switching the order of reports. The state monitor will now give his report.
Thank you for this opportunity. I just wanted to speak to not only to the board, but definitely to the public, like a status report of where the district is. Just so that they know, the district as of June 30th of 23 had over $4.3 million in capital reserve, plus another 1.5 million in maintenance reserve, so that we can address some of the issues that the district is facing to keep the buildings in shape. One of the things I'm looking into, together with the superintendent, because we spoke about this, and with the interim BA, you got the field house at the high school. I think we have the funds to address that issue. We're going to start that right away to remedy that situation. The board and superintendent will inform the public of the progress that the district is making in other areas, which that they already in part did. We're going in the right direction. Early childhood program, and I think the superintendent will go into more detail when he gives his report. And I totally support it. It is to increase the size of the early childhood, so we can look to address that lottery that this district has been doing for years, and see if we can do away with that. And so that the district will know that all POs have been processed by the BA who started 8/1, and I must compliment the superintendent and the BOA for addressing the turnover in central office staff quickly and efficiently. Failure would have impacted the opening of school next month. If we didn't have the appointment of the superintendent, of the BA, who jumped on a lot of the issues and addressed them excellently. What also happened, though, is I received information, or people called me about the mix-up or the situation that developed when the board, the superintendent, myself, a little bit, mostly the superintendent, did an excellent search for a business administrator. The contracts were formed, the board approved it, the county approved, everything was all set, and then it went downhill. I was not at the meeting in October. Not October, I'm sorry, last month in July. I was not there, but all I heard was what happened afterwards, where that candidate, all signed and sealed, decided not to take the job. I then received allegations or give me concerns about how that happened. The public audience was strong in their feelings about things, but that's their right. They have that, and I support it totally. But after that, though, I was presented with statements that concern me, that there were administrators, district administrators, that did things that would discourage the candidate to withdraw. I sat and reviewed the whole meeting that was on YouTube, and I couldn't find anything to say yes or no. So I went and hired a very reputable attorney to come in and investigate this, because I think if there's problems within the district administration, that it's causing problems, that has to be addressed. So those administrators will receive a letter or be contacted tomorrow or the latest Friday by the superintendent, saying that they will be contacted for interviews by this new attorney. We have to get this right. The district has to move forward with a unified administration to present to the public that we're doing the right thing. We are doing the right thing, because you can see by the progress we've been making in dealing with the buildings, the education, the early childhood, and we want to continue to do that. But we can't be sabotaged from within. So hopefully we can address that by having an independent attorney investigate this event. I explained this to the board, and hopefully we can move forward and try and get this investigation completed quickly, so we can straighten out our own house. Thank you. So ends my report.
Thank you, Mr. Egan. We are going to move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Martinez, and good evening to our community members and staff who are joining tonight, both in person and virtually. It's a pleasure to give my superintendent's report this evening. First, just a huge thank you to those who were able to join our meet and greet this past Monday, August 7th. We had an excellent turnout. Approximately over 60 individuals joined. We had students, which was great to begin to connect with them and share their voices in the process. We had staff, administrators, community members, parents, board representation. I addressed a little bit about my professional path and my vision moving forward, the entry plan that I've been implementing, and it was just really great to begin to connect with individual stakeholders afterwards. So again, just a massive thank you to those who were available and came out on a Monday night in August. I really appreciated it. In terms of a pre-K update, Today, I personally sent an email to over 60 pre-K families in terms of an update for placement. And we're excited to be able to disseminate the pre-K placement letters this Friday, which have already been drafted, and just a matter of the labeling process to place them in the mail. So those families should be receiving that letter shortly, and the content of the letter includes the actual placement in one of our providers and or at Roosevelt, as well as the contact information for the director. The directors will then also be informed and will be in touch in terms of orientation prior to the start of the school year, and anything in terms of the pre-K based operations within that site. I wanted to give an update on the before and after care program. A contract has been drafted and shared with the current provider. The goal is to recommend this to the board for the next agenda on August 23rd. Wanted to provide an update in terms of personnel. We have had, as you know, many vacancies to fill at the central office, and I'm very excited that we have a few recommendations on the agenda this evening. And the central office staff is really coming together with individuals who are experienced, qualified, and really excited to hit the ground running to do the very best for our students of Ridgefield Park. I'm pleased to share that it's been a very healthy candidate pool for each vacancy, with, again, experienced, qualified individuals who want to come to Ridgefield Park. And these search processes have been very competitive, which is a wonderful thing to see, especially when you're doing hiring in mid to late August. So wanted to first recognize and thank our new interim BA, Mr. Scott Bisig. It's clear that he has had an immediate presence within the district. We were very fortunate, I think, to have no gap in service from the previous recommended BA, and the availability of Mr. Bisig to jump right in and really begin to sort things out. As Mr. Egan had shared, over 180 POs have been processed in terms of supplies and programs for our teachers and staff to have a successful launch with our students in September. We've been having regular meetings with the business office team in terms of reviewing such POs and programs, and we're moving the ball forward absolutely. On tonight's agenda, we see a recommendation for an HR confidential assistant. I can't stress the critical need for this position to be filled in terms of compliance, but also to provide support for our valued staff members. The individual being recommended has over 20 years experience in the same role. And I think we're very fortunate for this candidate to be available and interested in the position, and really excited to make this recommendation. I can tell you in my previous district as an executive director of personnel, I had 4 administrative assistants who reported to me as director, and having a solid confidential HR assistant here in Ridgefield Park is not only needed to meet the requirements of the most recently revised job description from the July 19th board agenda, but just an individual who is excited and really ready to move forward. We also have a payroll manager recommendation on tonight's agenda. Again, a very experienced individual, ready to fulfill the requirements of that job description, which appears on this agenda and under faculty and program. Very excited to make this recommendation again, and individual is very much motivated to join the business office team. And very exciting today, we received news that the Assistant Superintendent of Schools contract was approved by our Executive County Superintendent. Really excited for this recommendation. This is an individual who has many strengths in terms of the needs and oversight of this position, and I am 100% confident that she will be a really valuable staff member moving forward to move the district forward. Unfortunately, with the summer months, she was unavailable to join us this evening, but she sends her sincere appreciation for consideration by the board this evening and is motivated to hit the ground running. And lastly, I just wanted to wish our fall athletic programs much success as they begin to kick off summer sessions, and wanted to wish our scholar athletes and our coaches a very healthy and successful season. I'm pleased to share that this week we met with Commissioners Porto Real and Olson, along with Mr. Green from the DPW, Mr. Bisig, myself, and Mr. Ramundi, our athletic director, to discuss the current status of the fields for the fall season. After consulting with our 2 soccer coaches for our boys and girls programs, as well as the head football coach, all who are in agreement and very supportive of their peer programs, I'm excited to share that for the upcoming fall season. The football field will be a multi-sport field where our boys and girls soccer teams will play their home games, in addition, of course, to Friday Night Lights with our football team. So hoping community members will come out to the stadium and support our teams this fall season. It's going to be great with an opportunity for all three programs to play on the field with fans and potential night games with lights and scoreboard, and really creating a great environment for our scholar athletes. So that concludes my superintendent's report, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. V. I'd like to request a motion to read into the record all new business items in order to allow the public an opportunity to comment on these items.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Mr. Cathcart. Mr. Cooney,
Yes.
Ms. Kraft,
Yes.
Mr. Phytros, Mr. Gomez,
Yes.
Ms. McNeil, Ms. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Ms. Velez,
Yes.
Ms. Orth, President Martinez.
Yes. And if you could please read the agenda items into the record.
Yes, sir. Item 16.01 on the agenda, settlement agreement. Under personnel. Resolve, the Board of Education, on the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, approves the appointment of Ms. Gabrielle LeBeau to the position of dance teacher, replacement for D. Butler in the Richfield Park School District for the 23-24 school year. Ms. LeBeau will be placed on step 2 BA level and will receive a salary of $66,286 prorated effective October 9th, 2023 or sooner, if released from the current employer through June 30th of 2024. Resolve, the Board of Education, on the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, approves the appointment of Miss Paige, I hope I pronounce it right, Arnowitz, to the position of preschool elementary LDTC in the Richfield Park School District for the 23-24 school year. Ms. Arnowitz will be placed on step 17, MA 20, and will receive a salary of $93,446 prorated effective October 9th, 2023 or sooner, if released from a current employer through June 30th, 2024. Resolve, the Board of Education, on the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, approves the appointment of Miss Teresa, is it Ramiro, if I pronounce it right, to the position of reading interventionist of the Richfield Park School District for school year 23-24. Ms. Ramiro will be paid her current salary until salaries are computed under the new ratified Richfield Park EA agreement effective 1 September 2023 through June 30th, 2024. Resolved, the Board of Education, on the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, approves the appointment of Miss Carmela Triglia as Assistant Superintendent of Schools in Richfield Park School District effective or about October 9th, 2023 through June 30th, 2024, as approved by the Executive County Superintendent at an annual rate of pay of $165,000 prorated for the term of the contract. Whereas the Richfield Park Board of Education has entered into a contract with Ms. Carmela Triglia for the purpose of retraining Ms. Triglia, I keep getting it right, as an Assistant Superintendent effective on or about October 9th, 2023. And whereas the board wished to give Ms. Triglia an opportunity to consult with the current board members and administrators, and whereas the board seeks to protect Ms. Triglia from any potential liability in connection with this consultation, which she will perform without receiving any additional compensation that is set forth in her employment contract. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the board hereby agrees to provide Ms. Triglia with Identification consistent with NJSA 18A 6-16-6, as she were an employee of the board from this date through the date on which she assumes the position of Assistant Superintendent of Schools. Under Finance and Instruction, resolution approving settlement. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the insurance carrier, which is responsible for handling this matter, the board approves negotiated settlement in a matter bearing docket number BER DC 7082 23. That concludes new business.
Thank you. I'll let you catch your breath for a second while we prepare for citizens' comment on agenda. Mr. Cooney, can you get the list for us, please? Can you get the list since you're closest? I'd like to first make a comment about our comments periods. This board's 5-minute allotment of time for public comments is one of the most generous in the state. Legal counsel, New Jersey school boards, and many others have advised the board to shorten the amount of time allotted per person to between 1 and 3 minutes. To date, the current board has resisted that advice with the goal of being as transparent as possible to improve the relationship between the board and the public, and because it has rarely been abused. Unfortunately, and I take responsibility for this, I have drifted in keeping us to that 5-minute time limit. We would like to ask for your help in respecting members of the public who are at home with kids, ready to go to bed, or who would like to sleep or speak by keeping your comments as brief as possible and certainly under the 5-minute time allotted. In turn, we will be doing a better job of keeping us all honest to that time as well. Similarly, after rewatching the last couple of meetings and speaking to council, it has become evident that the board has become dangerously close to discussing personnel and legal matters in public, a violation of which would put the district in legal peril and divert more resources towards litigation rather than education. In some cases, merely mentioning that litigation exists confirms that litigation exists, which could be a violation of staff privacy. The purpose of public comments is to allow the board to hear from the public about proposed agenda, the quality of the education we are providing generally, and their observations on the district or the needs of the district. The public comments portion is not a time for open discussion on specific students or staff, debate on decisions or initiatives, and it is certainly not time for an interrogation of the board. Again, you are free to use your time as you would like, but the board is not obligated to engage in discussions that put the district at risk. While we want to continue being as open as possible, it is risky for the board to engage in open, real-time discussions of personnel, legal, or procedural matters in real time. We are not attorneys, and our attorney is not able to mute us if we stray. The board continues to invite and benefit from the public sharing its thoughts with us. As you can see in recent meetings, public observations and comments have moved the board in real time. In order to slow down the process and be more responsible, we will be writing down questions that you have, and then at the conclusion of public comments, answering, deferring, or denying questions as deemed appropriate. We ask for your cooperation in making these meetings productive, respectful, and that they do not create legal jeopardy for the district, therefore siphoning more resources away from education. I, on behalf of the board, have answered every single email, text, or call that has been directed to me, and Dr. Vespignani has vowed to do the same. On occasion, individual board members have also answered emails as individuals. We're being as transparent, as open as possible, and encourage you to reach out to the board through other and sometimes more appropriate venues. And with that, I will ask Trustee Rodriguez to read the official policy on.
Thank you, Dr. Martinez. Public comment guidelines. For tonight's meeting, there will be 2 public comment sessions, one on agenda and one off agenda items. There is a sign-up sheet on the podium. We'll call your name in the order that you sign in. Each member of the public will have 5 minutes to speak during each comment period. Time cannot be transferred to other individuals. The public comment period will be 1 hour for on-agenda items and 1 hour for non-agenda items. The board will now entertain public comment. Please remember to state your name, mailing address, and to keep your comments brief to allow sufficient time for other members of the public to speak if they wish. Thank you for your cooperation and support.
Thank you. Mr. DeSantis?
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, sir. I think
Can
it's
you-
on.
Yeah, you can hear me, right? Okay, it's disappointing because I wanted to have a full interrogation of the board tonight, but you're gonna stop me, so I won't do it. Just kidding, just,
I'm available afterwards if you'd like to interrogate.
no, there's nothing to interrogate. Resolution, and I lost it. The supervision alternative program. I don't know if this was on last year's agenda. And this is brand new for us, but this sounds like a wonderful idea. Detention, in-school detention, out-of-school detention, they have their pluses and minuses. If this can be addressed in a way where it isn't a vacation to go home, especially if there's no parent in the house and there is, the obvious problems when there's in-school detentions, and I think that's a very good suggestion, by the way. The extraordinary aid, I don't know if you know this off the top of your head, but is this more, less, or similar to last year? It's an unfair question for you, Mr. Basic.
I don't know, but we can get back to you.
You don't know, okay.
But not off the top of my head, though.
Yeah, off the top of your head, maybe for next meeting, just curious as to what was. It's good to see the positions being filled. I presume the rescinder of offers of employment is the BA who was going to come. Appreciate Mr. Bissig, if I'm saying it right, filling in and getting our invoices and bids out and getting us ready for school. The next two questions really come together. And the employment of assistant superintendent in schools and the extra compensation for curriculum writing. Is it fair to assume the assistant superintendent will be taking on the role of curriculum director also?
We're writing.
Excuse me.
We're writing the questions down.
Oh, you're writing down?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. I am pleased to see that in the extra compensation for the curriculum writing, there's a lot of attention to math. So that's a really good thing. Linda's being brought up. I hope that since I'm not personally 100% sold on an assistant superintendent, just my thoughts, but if it was combined with director of curriculum, would the job be doable? And is that the direction you're heading in? And I guess lastly, but not least, I had another one here that I've completely lost. I'm sure a lot of people in Richmond Park, a lot of parents will be happy we're going to get dance instructor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. DeSantis. Mr. DeSantis?
Susan DeSantis, 15 Homestead Place. 1304. I guess I might as well address that with Mr. Egan at this point. She was sitting at our table that night and she was shaking her head, holding her head, and she said, "This is the crap." She didn't say that word, but the reason why she was leaving the district she was in. And that's why I would assume she left. It didn't have anything to do with anybody. This rumor that's perpetuated, this nonsense. The HR assistant, do they know anybody in the district at all?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. Okay, the assistant superintendent of schools. Dr. Vespignani, I think I got that right. You said that you were filling this board on the 2011 organizational chart. Why have you disregarded the 2020 and the 2017 organizational charts?
We're writing down questions and they'll be answered
That's
as
a
appropriate.
question.
We'll write it down at the end, at the conclusion of comments, we're going to answer as many questions as we can.
Okay, I did some research on this assistant superintendent. I understand that she works in the district that you live in, Dr. Vespignani. She was an elementary teacher and a director of curriculum in Woodland Park, pre-K 8. She has no high school experience. She has no principal's experience. I'd like to know what line item this is coming from, as it was not in the approved budget, although you said it was, and it isn't. What position won't be filled to pay for this? How is it we hire an inexperienced superintendent and within 30 days he needs an assistant in a small district with less than 2,000 students? This superintendent's job is actually costing the taxpayers $372,000 now. And I guess that's all my questions.
Thank you, Mr. Santos. Ms. Malou?
Janet Malul, 163 East Grand Avenue. I've got a bunch of questions. First of all, for Dr. V. I'm sorry I couldn't attend on Monday. I had looked forward to that, but as you get to know me, you'll know I wear several hats in this community and meetings that I couldn't get out of to come. I'm also glad that when you started to say you guys are writing down questions, I had these horrific visions of the days of Dr. Haynes when it would be somewhere on a computer, maybe 4 months later. I think the way you're suggesting to try it makes sense. We try it and see if it works. At least we will get some response. I'm looking at for our acting BA. Will he be working every day in the district? Is this like 5 days a week, or is this a part-time situation while he's here? That's one question. Okay, I was looking at, let me find it here. The program for those that normally, I guess, would have been on at a school suspension or sometimes in school suspension. It really sounds like an awesome program. My one question is, will they report to here to be bused? Or is it the parents' responsibility to get them to that other location? And secondly, will they be, I know it said instructional, will they be given work that needs to be done? In other words, whatever's being done in the classroom that week, will that be provided to either them or to the facility so that they're not behind? And I'm not quite sure how they staff this, or whether it's one-on-one or they have time where they're supposed to be doing independent work. But I think the added components to it where it's not just sitting there and making sure they get their work done will go a long way. Who is going to be the provider of before and after care? And where will that be given or held? We've been through a couple of programs, I guess, over the years. And I will say, I think it's really a great necessity today. I remember the days when those of us that have older kids, we were paying for private care, especially if we didn't work normal hours. At 7 a.m., there's nobody that's usually open to take your child. And so I'm glad to see that, so that's hopefully allowing people to be able to work, especially once they're school age. I was listening, I guess it came from the state monitor, or maybe I'm mistaken. I was trying to take notes the whole time. Where's the money coming for the reno of the field? And as my daughter kind of texted to me, it's called the pit, not the stadium. Where are we? Is that coming from our budget? Is that coming from a grant? Is that coming from the town? I'd be curious to see where that, and how extensive a project is it going to be? I know at one point, the grandiose idea was something like 12 or 18 million to redo that whole side of town, which I personally think the money could be used in other avenues of this community. But if we're redoing the field so that it can be used multi-purpose, also a timeline as to, will that disturb any of the usual programs that start out in September or October? And I think that'll be about it for now. One last, the incoming assistant superintendent. How will we be dealing with, or will there be people hired that have more extensive knowledge of the high school level curriculum? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Malou. Do we have anybody online to elevate? I'm assuming the portal's open. It must be really nice outside. I guess we'll give it a minute. No? All right, we left them speechless. I guess we'll close the public comments portion of the agenda for now. We'll move now to agenda items. Trustee Kraft, can you please move F&P?
I make a motion to move 901 to 904.
Second.
Mr. Cathcart. Mr. Cooney,
Yes.
Ms. Kraft,
Yes.
Mr. Phytros, absent. Mr. Gomes,
Yes, and I'd also like to thank all schools for their donation.
Ms. McNeil, Ms. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Ms. Velez,
Yes.
Ms. Orth, President Martinez.
Yes. Trustee Cooney, can you please move Buildings and Grounds?
Resolution 10.01, I so move.
I'll second.
Mr. Cathcart, Mr. Cooney,
Yes.
Ms. Kraft,
Yes.
Mr. Phytros, Mr. Gomes,
Yes.
Ms. McNeil, Ms. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Ms. Velez,
Yes.
Ms. Orth, President Martinez.
Yes. Trustee Gomes, can you please move finance and insurance, including new business 1601?
I move FI 1101 to 1120 and 1601.
I'll second.
Mr. Cooney,
Yes.
Ms. Kraft,
Yes.
Mr. Gomes,
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Ms. Velez,
Yes.
President Martinez.
Yes. Thank you. Trustee Rodriguez, can you please move consent agenda?
Sure. I so move consent agenda 1201, use of facility, and 1202, purchase agent.
A second.
Mr. Cooney,
Yes.
Ms. Kraft,
Yes.
Mr. Gomes,
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Ms. Velez,
Yes.
President Martinez.
Yes. Thank you. Trustee Velez, can you please move personnel, including new business?
I so move personnel 1301 to 13.14.
And
I so move new business 17.01 through 17.05.
Second.
Mr. Cooney,
Yes.
Ms. Kraft,
Yes.
Mr. Gomes,
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Ms. Velez,
Ye-
President Martinez.
yes. Thank you. We're actually going to hit reverse because I immediately broke the promise that I made to answer questions. So we are going to go back and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. V to look through the questions that are on the list to any that he deems appropriate to be answered right now.
Thank you, Dr. Martinez. In regard to the extraordinary aid in consultation with our Director of Special Services, yes, it is an increased rate and credit to that department for moving things forward in terms of the appropriate documentation for that to occur. The exact number, I'll ask Mr. Bisick to confirm, but I just wanted to share that it is in fact an increase. Just in terms of the assistant superintendent position, this is not the same as the previous director of curriculum position or director of curriculum and operations, but it is a position by way of the job description that was previously approved on the last agenda. You will see some oversight and jobs and responsibilities within that position. In terms of the organizational chart, when I referenced that in our previous meeting on July 19th, I made reference to the fact that there were at one point in District 2 assistant superintendent positions. In regard to the interim BA, the idea is, yes, it would be 5 days a week. It is, of course, a per diem rate. So it's contingent upon the actual days worked. Just in regard to the aftercare question, again, I had stated in my superintendent's report that the contract was shared with the existing provider, and we're hopeful to make a recommendation on the next agenda. And just by point of clarification, in terms of the renovation, whereas I can't comment on the financial piece, it is the field house where there are bathrooms, where there is athletic equipment in terms of exercise, weight room. So it is not the field, it is the field house. And those are the questions that I can address at this time.
Thank you. If any questions were not answered, feel free to email us and we will do our best to get them answered or to explain why we can't. We will now move to citizens' comments off agenda items. Again, I would ask to keep to the generous 5-minute time limit and respect the board's attempt to keep us out of trouble by being more mindful and deliberate in addressing your concerns. Mr. DeSantis?
Just two brief questions. One is, are we on schedule for school to open on time with everything we need? Or as close as we can be at this point in time? And the second point is that, I'm sorry for my voice. I understand the reason for the change in not wanting it to get into a banter with the public, or the public to get into banter with the public. But I do think that if it's a simple answer and could be quick, it would be nice. Maybe somebody would have a follow-up question, but it should be a continued discussion. Maybe to give that some thought. Sometimes people like to hear or can't stay till the end of the meeting. For just food for thought, a suggestion. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. DeSantis. Ms. DeSantis?
Okay, Susan DeSantis, again, we're back to not answering the questions. In 2011, the county and state, I'm sorry, in 2017, the county and state said, this is not a needed position in a district this size. We have less than 2,000 students. And it was removed after the previous monitor came. That and the deans of students were removed. And here we go again. We're just putting more positions back that really aren't needed. I asked what line item from for the assistant superintendent and what position won't be filled because of this new position. That's unneeded according to the state and the county. And you have, you approved the Chromebooks, and I'd like to know that they're going to be in and up and running and programmed by Simone and Rich in time for the students, and that everything that was in the budget for this year is going to be here by September when school opens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeSantis. Ms. Malou?
I just kind of had a funny thought of thinking back to when I was in the classroom. And if I had taken 10 or 15 questions from 5 or 6 kids and not answered them as they asked, I probably would have been in deep trouble. But I guess as adults, we were able to assimilate to that change. Couple of questions, not much here. I noticed more of that construction being done in Little Ferry right over the bridge practically. Do we have any updates on student projections for Richfield Park and for Little Ferry? And if we don't yet, is that in the plan to be looking into again for this upcoming year? Okay, that's the first question. Second question, do we have, and this is my question every year for the past 2 years, I guess, do we have any real plan in place for the 7th and 8th graders other than one big happy family? And that also includes, I am extremely concerned about what those scores look like last year. And for the benefit of those that are sitting here that are new to my comments on this, I do not believe in state tests. And I don't believe they can't be cheated on, not cheated by looking on another page, but manipulated, I guess is a better term. I saw it in New York and it doesn't not happen here either. And some of these exams that they claim the kid can work through and it will self-adjust. Well, I discovered that the kids know how to beat that system too, in both respects. But when we see the 7th and 8th math scores, especially the 8th grade math scores where they were at last year, I really thought it was an error or a typo. And I'm really concerned of them moving forward once they get into the algebra classes, and then you're talking a whole new world. So I'm hoping that we're really, truly addressing that matter. And I know it is a summer night, but I'm really getting, I guess, frustrated by the lack of parents that come out to these meetings. If you look here, we're probably 50% of us don't have kids in the district, won't have kids in the district. And I just find it mind-boggling. It's almost like, do we have to serve coffee and cake to get them to show up? I'm hoping that changes this year with everything kind of starting new. But I don't know, I find it really scary. It kind of points to, and even when you have them online, when nobody else really is speaking or asking a question, I really don't know how to interpret that. But to me, it's just a real lack of responsibility on their parts. And I know you can't solve that problem, but I'm just throwing it out there because as a parent, I just sit here, and as an educator, I sit here and I go, like, is this what the year is like for the kids in school and for the teaching staff, where there's no response from parents? And if that's it, then that's a big issue that needs to be addressed somehow. I don't have an answer for that one, but you know, it's really a family affair. You know, schools can't do it on their own. Parents can't do it on their own. It's got to be some give and take going on. So seriously, good luck with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Blue. Ms. Hopper?
Good evening.
Okay.
Dr. V, you're the new superintendent, right? Can I ask you, is there an attendance policy in place for the elementary school kids? And if there is a policy in place, what are the procedures that you have to go through in order to basically force a child back into school and so on and so forth, to, you know, fix the attendance and whatnot? Speaking from personal experience, my daughter's note was actually declined by the school principal. He has no authority to do that. It's a legitimate note, but he still decided to decline it. Issues like that, I have to bring up to your attention now because of the personal issue that this specific principal has with me. Now, I emailed you today, no answer. I understand you could be busy, there's a lot going on, totally understand it. But at some point, we're gonna have to speak about this and figure out what type of attendance policy really is in place and what are the procedures that you guys have to go through to ensure that attendance stays the way it's supposed to, if that makes any sense. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Do you have anybody to elevate? Yeah. Mr. Dishler, can I ask, we have somebody who is looking to be elevated, but it's on a cell phone with no name. We're live, so I'll make the decision. I think the person on the cell phone, if you could, please email me, email the question, and I will make sure that you get an answer to whatever question or comment you had, and or bring it up at the next meeting. But it's, you know, we're in live, and it's a little bit of a risk. Thank you. Thank you for catching that. Anybody else?
Hello.
Hello, good
Hello.
evening.
Hi, good
Please-
evening.
Can I have your name and address?
Maria Escobar, 80 Orchard Street.
Good evening, go ahead.
I was just, I wanted to piggyback off of Janet Mulul. I wanted to see if there was something with the new superintendent, maybe an idea to work with the principals in the schools and communicate with them so they can send out some emails for parents to attend the Board of Ed meetings and the different options that they have. So that way they can participate as well, and maybe we can get more parents to attend and know what's going on in the district and within the schools, or maybe just something that's mentioning each individual school or what's happening. I don't know, just some kind of program where parents can get not just one email, but at least sort of like an email blast from the principals or the students' teachers, or just something to communicate that there's a meeting going on. Just a suggestion.
Thank
And
you.
also, I'm sorry, also, I am concerned about, and I've asked this question in previous meetings about the increase of students between Little Ferry and Richfield Park and the constructions that are happening. And from what I understand, there is an estimate of potential students or coming into the district when they start these constructions. And it's part of the numbers they include in their projections when they start building these projects. So I wanted to know if you have an update on that as well. I'm pretty sure you don't yet, but you can just please keep it on your notes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else to elevate? Okay. Yes, so we are going to respond to questions now.
Thank you, Dr. Martinez. In regard to the question about opening up on time, again, I had shared in my superintendent's report that we have processed in the short amount of time that Mr. Bisick has been here, over 180 purchase orders. So we're meeting again tomorrow as an internal team with the business office team to examine any that remain and working with vendors to ensure timely delivery. In terms of positions being filled, the director of oversight of curriculum and instruction, or one time I believe it was operations, that position will not be filled. And in terms of 2017 and any county notification, again, as noted on this agenda, the recommendation for the assistant superintendent of schools requires the contract to be approved by the executive county superintendent. So the support for that position is there. Just reviewing some additional items in terms of attendance policy. I can just speak in terms of a previous experience. It's common for school districts to have an attendance policy. I would need to review that personally myself, but that's something that I'm happy to look into. And those are the questions that I can address at this time. Yeah, similarly in regard to, thank you, Dr. Martinez. Similarly in regard to the Chromebook order, again, working with vendors to ensure timely delivery. In most cases, we're being informed that we will have the supplies. If there are any items that are potentially not going to be delivered to launch this school year, then certainly we'll have a contingency plan in place. And again, work with the vendors to expedite these. To echo what I had shared earlier, having that gap in terms of a business administrator to work with the team to move those items forward. It's really critical, and it's been very helpful at this time to have Mr. Bisick in the chair. Thank you.
I guess I'll comment on the parents attending the meetings. I too am upset about that. I've been one of the people from the start of my tenure here at the board, trying to get parents out and trying to get people into this room. I think that bad things happen when the public is not watching any type of government agency or institution. And so one of the things that I do is I try to put it on my Facebook page. I try to text friends and kind of nudge them into watching while they're doing other things in the backyard or whatnot. And I think, those of us who do attend, I think we could have a concerted effort to get more people out. This is important. And I think people tune out when things are really bad, and they tune out when things are kind of moving along smoothly or there's nothing to see here. Sometimes people show up when there's going to be a fight because people like gladiator sports. And we're not having any of that here. So, but this is important. And these are important decisions that we make here. We spend about 60% of your tax dollars, your property taxes get spent by the people up here. And it's very important for the public to be here. So I'm open to suggestions as to how. I think maybe we can get the town hall to post our meetings a little more prominently on the marquee. And maybe email blasts are being suggested. Maybe that needs to go out the day before board meeting for parents to kind of plan ahead. You know, parents are very busy and they're tired, and this is a big kind of haul. I also wanted to comment on the concern about our scores. I think it's not just 7th and 8th graders. For a long time now, we've been an underperforming district, especially when you take into account the amount of taxes that we pay. We pay above average taxes in Richfield Park, and we still have a below average testing, even though I know my fellow, the educators on the board have taught me that testing is not everything. But there are districts who get high scores in their testing. And so why can't we do that as well? So that is one of the reasons we hired Dr. Vespignani, and that's one of the things that the board is looking at very closely. And in terms of the population studies, I believe it was 2 years ago that there was a projected population for Little Ferry and Richfield Park, and an analysis of enrollment. And we recently spoke about that in one of the committee meetings. And that is on our radar to see when there will be a population increase. Some theories say that there's a little bit of a lag. These are young couples who move in and they don't have school-age kids for a couple of years. But that really needs to be planned for, because we are, still bursting at the seams in terms of space. Yeah, and I think that answers most of the questions. Thank you very much. Nobody else to elevate? I guess I will ask for a motion to close the meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Mr. Cooney,
Yes.
Ms. Kraft,
Yes.
Mr. Gomes,
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Ms. Velez,
Yes.
President Martinez.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. And tell your friends to join us for the next meeting, please. It's very important. Have a good night.